What's going on, guys? This is Nate. I just arrived here in West Hartford a little while ago. I'm at the Crown Market, right? And this is it's a majority Jewish community here in West Hartford, Connecticut. A very tragic event did happen. And while, of course, the death toll in Gaza at this point is like 60,000, including 15 to 20,000 children. There is a memorial right outside, and I'm going to be sitting down to discuss the geopolitics, the events going on in the Middle East, with members of the Jewish American community here in West Hartford. 3 hostages were just returned. Their bodies were actually just returned from Gaza to Israel, right over the border. I believe it was last night. So pretty much, and while, the death toll in Gaza is still insanely high, unfortunately, you're not going to hear too much about it. This is going to be a very one-sided discussion, and that's what I hate. But I'm just a fly on the wall, okay? There's tragedy on both sides, but one of the things you guys got to understand is I'm not here to stir the pot. I'm not here to encourage. I'm not here to discourage. I'm not here to debate. I'm not running for political office or anything, not yet. And these people also aren't elected lawmakers. They're not saying that the funds need to go to another country or start more war or anything like that. They're just sharing their opinions, all right?
Israeli. You start?
Your father's Israeli? Yeah.
Father's
And
Israeli.
what's your name, man?
Mendel Barokas.
Mendel.
Yes.
My great uncle's name was Mendel. Actually.
Really?
So yeah, that's the Ashkenazi side of my family.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, my father's Israeli. My mother is American. My father's family comes from Morocco and Turkey.
Oh, okay.
My mother's family is originally from Russia and Ukraine.
So he's Sephardic, right?
My father's Sephardic, yes.
Okay. That's what they call, yeah.
The Jews that come from the Spanish of the Spanish descent, which then Middle East.
And you know what's funny? We're here in Hartford. We got a large Puerto Rican community, right? Just on the other side in South Hartford. And what's funny is during the Spanish Inquisition, a lot of Jews went to the Caribbean. So you might have some cousins. We might have some cousins literally 20 minutes that way and not even know.
Yeah, I was in Chabad of Puerto Rico. I work for Chabad here in West Hartford. I was in Chabad in Puerto Rico, and there were some folks over there who traced their lineage back to the Spanish Inquisition, and there's a lot of assimilation that happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we're here paying tribute to the Bibas family and really all the other victims and hostages and victims from the conflict in Israel, and all I can say is, it's tragic. In today's day and age, we shouldn't have to know of such things. There shouldn't be conflict and the need for kidnapping hostages, babies. It's terrible.
Right.
1 second.
Yeah. It's a good meal you're having there.
Never go wrong with a salad. People eat too much junk.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah. So, what's your name, my friend?
My name is David Silver.
Okay. And people, in the American Jewish community and Jews over in Israel, I mean, what do you guys think is the easiest way right now for this whole thing to end? Because that's what we all want. We want this to end. We want this to be over.
Okay, that's a very good question. I call that a $64,000 question.
I know.
The first thing I want people to know is that it's extremely complicated. While it may not look that way from here, anybody that really wants to kind of understand it should visit there. You can still visit there just to sort of see the lay of the land and the geography. But in terms of all the different players involved, it's something that I'm busy with this every day. I mean, I know the news, I know what's happening,
right. And
there's a lot of different factions. And like everybody else, I pray for peace, and I pray for our people to survive in its own land, and also here for Jewish people to be proud of who they are as supporters of Israel and to be proud members of the Jewish community. And I think what October 7th did, one of the maybe the good things, if I can say that, is it forced, or maybe it sort of coerced many American Jews to be more involved with the community and stand up, maybe attend synagogue more often.
Right.
Because although I'm not strictly Orthodox, to me that's the crux of it. Is the religion and our faith and our land. Our land reflects that.
I just want to tell you quickly. I lived in Israel 2010, the year that Gilad Shalit was released.
Wow.
I don't know where you were in 2010 when that happened. The whole country shut down. Kids didn't have school. Nobody went to work, and we watched it live televised.
Oh, wow. Was that big a deal?
It was that big of a deal.
He'd
been gone for 5 years, and they let go a lot, like 1,000.
1,000 for
but one of them,
one guy.
One of them
1,000 go.
was yours truly, who was the one they let out for Gilad Shalit.
One of the ones.
Sinwar.
Yeah.
Sinwar?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And he has been planning this since then.
Wow.
And they saved his life in prison. He had a brain tumor. And they operated on Sinwar and saved his life in an Israeli prison.
It's these crazy stuff.
It's disgusting. So I'm enraged that we let... Why do we even treat those people?
He was chilling in the tunnels.
Okay.
So we'll start with you. What's your name? Tell me a little bit about your background.
Okay.
And what led you to organize this event here today?
Okay, so my name is Debbie Raviv.
Cool.
My background, I was born and raised in West Hartford, Connecticut.
Yep.
I moved away to go to college, then I moved to Europe, then I met my husband and moved to Israel and made Aliyah with our 3 young children, and then did the reverse Aliyah. Came back to the U.S.
Okay. That's actually very common, you know? No,
Yes.
I've heard that. Okay. And then what led you to organize this event here today? And, how do you feel about everything that's going on in the Middle East right now? The whole geopolitical situation right now and the ethnic tension and whatnot.
Myself and my husband are the managing partners here at the Crown Market.
Okay.
And we are very involved in our local Jewish community, but bigger than that, my husband's Israeli. And, having lived in Israel and traveled there a lot, we felt that we needed to organize something. It's not just about the Bibas family. It's obviously all the hostages. I think people forget there were 55 children murdered on 10/7. So it's not only the Bibas children, but they have become sort of I hate to say the poster child, but really what has been committed against those people, the murderous, torturous, at the hands of pure evil, is just so atrocious that I feel like as a society and as humanity, we do not tolerate ever that would ever happen again to any people, to anyone. So I think that organizing this event was to try to bring awareness to what's going on in the Middle East. There's people who have never heard of the Bibas family. There's people who don't have any clue as to what is happening in Israel and in Gaza and all of the Middle East.
Right.
And it's overflows. It's everywhere. It's Iran. It's the Houthis in Yemen. It's everywhere.
Hezbollah.
And the rise of anti-Semitism is at an all-time high. That people say it's boiling over. It has boiled over.
Okay.
It's beyond. Yeah.
Did you have any association or relationship with the IDF?
Not really, except for the fact that, because my children were young, they weren't at that stage that they were going to the IDF, but I do have my husband's sister who lives there with her 3 children, and all of them have served in the IDF, and 2 of them were actually called to duty during this last, on 10/7. One was sent to Lebanon and one was sent to near Gaza. I mean, I woke up that morning with my mother-in-law sending us WhatsApp calls over and over and over again, because that morning was a Saturday. My husband's phone is off. He's religious. He was at the synagogue. He didn't even know what was happening, but I knew. So I actually went to the synagogue that morning to tell him there has been the most horrific attack in the history of the country ever.
Did it take time as an Israeli?
Mm-hmm.
Did it take time for the massacre to sink in, for you to understand what happened?
Yeah, of course, because at the beginning they were like, 50 people were killed. Then it was 100. Then it was they lost track. They said they couldn't even process what was happening or going on. So I think that, I don't think anyone can really process it or comprehend, especially not living there while that happened. Is a very difficult situation. If you're not there, it's hard to feel what they felt in Israel. It's really difficult to feel their their pain.
Do you think there's a cultural divide between Israelis and American Jews or Americans?
I think so, for sure. Yeah. I mean, when you talk to a Holocaust survivor, you can listen to their stories. You can not want to imagine, but you can imagine what their life was like, but you don't fully really know how they feel. And I think that the people who are in Germany can understand how they feel because they know what was going on. So I think it's hard when you're removed from it like we are. We're so far away from Israel. We live so far away and a safe place. We're not living next to a group of people that every day want to kill us and every day want to have 10-7. So it's a different mindset. Israel has the urgency.
Joel, how are you doing? Tell me a little bit about yourself. What brings you out to this event today?
Okay, I'm an American Israeli, born and raised in New York, lived in Israel for 25 years. And like most of the people that attended the event today, came here to show their respect to the Bibas family that were buried in Israel today.
Okay. Lived in Israel for 25 years. Talk about the first time you went to Israel. What made you make Aliyah over there? What made you make your first trip?
My first trip to Israel was to a kibbutz. I enjoyed the experience very much. I came back during wartime. I had a very ugly, negative experience, and I came back a third time to say, well, what's really going on here? And that third time, I was convinced that one day I would go back to live, which I did about 10 years later. And I lived in Israel for 25 years. While I was there, I served with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and with the Israel Defense Forces.
So, Joel, tell me a little bit about your experiences in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and what led you to serve in that?
I volunteered for the IDF after I was exposed to the war in the Middle East and war in Israel. And I saw the suffering that was taking place in Israel. And I wanted to contribute. I wanted to contribute in a way that I had special skills. I had public relations, editorial skills, working in New York that I thought I could bring over to the IDF. Lo and behold, when I made Aliyah and moved to Israel, I was accepted into a combat unit, combat engineers, and from the combat engineers, I then served in an anti-terror unit. And then finally, I got myself into the spokesperson's unit, where I still contribute today. And in the spokesperson unit, I co-created the social media unit, which is very, very active today in terms of getting its messaging out.
Okay, got it. And what would you say were some of the most intense experiences that you had while serving? I mean, have you served in, Gaza or Lebanon or anything like that?
I would rather gravitate to the positive.
Your time in the IDF, do you think it allows you to do good work here for the Jewish community?
Definitely.
All right.
There's one thing you learn in the IDF, and that is kadima, which means go forward.
Right.
That no matter how life may treat you, let's say just with the Hamas massacre, with the Bibas funeral today, you go forward. You don't have the luxury of crying, being depressed.
Yeah.
Your phone just went on.
It's good advice.
Across, the whole Middle East, I mean, it's like it's a powder keg. It's ready to explode. U.S. is going to get involved probably at some point, like, the U.S. always does. I mean, what do you think, after living here, after living there, what do you think is the best way for this whole thing to end finally, once and for all this tension?
No, I don't believe the Middle East is about to explode. I believe that most of the Middle East right now is unified with Israel. You take a look at Israel, United Arab Emirates, take a look at Bahrain, look at Morocco. These countries are on the same page, the same paragraph. The only conflict that we have is that with Iran, and Iran's going to be addressed in the coming, very, very coming short future.